Welcome back everyone to Splash Peak. Today we're going to delete my beloved dome. Yes, we're just going to get rid of it, but we're replacing it with something even better, which makes a whole lot more sense. Also, we are building a coaster, we're going to delete even more of the park, and we're going to replace that, again, with something way more sensible, meaningful, and so on. It's going to be a tight episode, packed with a lot of things, and we're going to talk about this project as a whole and what's going to happen in the future. But, well, as you know by now, before we quickly need to talk about the sponsor of the channel, which is Instant Gaming. As you should know by now, you can get games, keys, in-game currency, and so on for a great value. They always have super discounts. You can basically get anything you want, from pre-orders to DLCs to whatever, and they have a fully reliable customer support. You can always check if there is something not happening or working, and whenever you purchase that, you conveniently get this right to your email and you can use it right away. Never had any issues with them, always got very positive feedback, and you do help me directly and you help yourself directly because you save a lot of money. So that's great, so let's get into the episode. But first things first, guys, how have you been during the Gamescom week? What has been your highlight from Gamescom? Let me know in the comments down below if there's any game you're super hyped for now, or maybe something that was surprising, or maybe you haven't heard anything of Gamescom, because I figured that Gamescom really lost a little bit of its international reputation, or let's say importance at least. You know, it's the biggest gamer fair in the world. As E3 is not existing anymore, it took the crown, but it really feels like every year Gamescom becomes less and less relevant. You gotta tell me in the comments if that's true or if it's just my perception. Anyways, I've had a good time there. May just give you a bit more insight to that later in today's video. But first things first, we talk about why I deleted the dome, and there is a very good reason for that. So I did build the dome with the rotation platform method. If you're not familiar with that one, we do have these platforms in the game that can do various actions, but they come also with a wonderful good thing, that is the mirror option. You can't unfortunately use mirror in like free building, but you can use this on these platforms or in the attach mode to rides. The attach mode in rides is a bit complicated, but you can abuse the platforms in order to build circular things very easily, very quickly. The problem though is, if you want to just open certain areas, let's say put a door on just one hand, it's not gonna work, because basically this door is going to be created in all other areas of your build as well, which makes the whole building a bit more complicated. Another big issue about the dome was its size. It's been a little bit too crazy. Not gonna say that what we're building right now is gonna be less crazy. It is going to be as crazy as before, and to be honest, it's far away from being realistic. It's kind of some 40 to 50 meters tall, which is way too big. The structure wouldn't be realistically working in terms of, its stability, durability, and statics in general. That's not going to happen. But I didn't want to focus too much on that right now. This project isn't that realistic anyway. So, we do some footage and stuff here and there. We're going to make some support pillars. No worries about that. Some beams will be put in. But just from the aesthetics and from the looks of it, I do like this new version quite a lot more than the old one, just because it is so much more, I don't know, it's not a dome, it's basically a huge hall. I mean, realistically, Dubai or so could build something like that, but not in other areas of the world. But anyways, I'm getting ahead of myself. We are building a structure in a very typical way of approaching a build. So if you are seeking for some building methods to make yourself more efficient in building, here's a good example of what you can do. So what I'm doing over here is I know exactly what kind of structure I'm going for. So I took myself 3-4 meter wide assets as a base foundation. So we are building a 12 meter wide element and pair that with, as I said, like 40-50 meters tall, which is again way too big, but just for the sake of my build over here, it was needed. And then once I'm happy with the one element, I start copy it around. And at the beginning, what I'm usually doing is I'm testing if it looks good, if things are copied to each other. And very important, as you can see, that I did put one of the base elements to the left-hand side, split that from the build. That is very important, because if you run into the issue of not doing things correctly, or you want to add maybe a bit of an area or so, it's very hard to just delete certain elements from the big group. But if you need that just one tiny element back, you always make sure you have that somewhere on the left hand side. You know, you can see that to the top screen there. Also, you can see still the shade of the old dome, which I kept in for reference, but I did delete this eventually at the end. Ultimately, it's not existing anymore. There is, as you can see, I did a bit of comparisons to how tall that is, and you can see the dome is still fairly tall, still about 20-ish% taller than this hole is going to be. I could technically make the hole even lower, but I won't, and the reason for that is straightforward: time. I want to finish this project. I told you about this in the last episode, and this is most certainly the second last episode. In the next episode, we're going to make a bit of more cleanup to the inside, and we are building the absolutely well-deserved and needed station of the River Rapids. The River Rapids still is one of my favorite rides. Remember, I built this one when we didn't have the beautiful water, so I was doing this with the hope in my head that at some point we are going to get better looking water indeed, and we got. So I'm a lot more happy building these things nowadays. Anyways, now it's time to talk about the coaster, and I do have to say something about this. Because, as you know, I'm not the biggest coaster builder in the world, and actually the only reason why I wanted to build this is exactly this wonderful element over here going over the entrance of our area. You know, I thought it would be very nice to have like one coaster, I don't know, for the people to enjoy outside, just have a go. And I've never really built a wing coaster, so I thought it's about time to do that. I briefly checked upon a couple of elements that a typical wing coaster features, but then again, I just quickly built it. It's not like I put too much, time and effort into this coaster. I completely, transparent. I say that because there's no way to just kind of say I spent so many hours to make it perfect. I didn't. And I think it's totally fine sometimes. This is not the focus of this build, and because everything has to just get a meaning, I feel like it's okay to say this is just a more or less aesthetic element. So this is why I built the coaster in the first place. It's decent enough for my taste, and if you are into coaster realism, this channel may actually really not be the first choice you're going to. Maybe for the theming though, but not for the coaster itself. And I'm not the best at that, so it's fine enough. It's not as unrealistic, and if you're totally against these super unrealistic coasters, it should do a good enough job to count as a somewhat decent one. And that's all I wanted to say. I don't want to make a fake statement here that this is a mega great coaster or anything. That was never my target and never my initial intention behind that. As I said, it was more about these features, have a bit of path interaction over here, making the whole scene feel a bit more alive. The same goes for making the pathway over here a bit more interesting looking. I did do a couple of adjustments here and there to have a bit of a better pacing, and I will in the next episode also kind of reshape some of the elements, because as I said, it's about aesthetics and it's not looking perfect from the shaping point of view as well. So at some point I was like, just make sure it works. Okay, so speaking about shortcuts and not going to the full detail, this is the next bit where I'm taking a couple intentional shortcuts, and I want to say, for everyone out there, this is okay. This is just okay. It's not like I wanna make sure that I just kind of justify myself for that. You know how detailed and obsessed I can get with certain areas. Just remember Yosemite Hotel we did in the last episode of this project over here, which took me 20 to 30 hours just for that one area, which is not usual whatsoever. But there are certain things that I feel like you can take a shortcut, and for example, this building over here, in some of the edges, you could build some very clean edges, that slide perfectly in and look absolutely amazing. Or you just take these ginormous concrete slabs and just put them in and make sure that you block the view. And that's exactly what I'm doing. And you know what I'm going to do as well? I'm going to use a lot of foliage and a lot of trees to do the same from the inside to block all these views. The only thing I did over here is I kind of opened up a little bit for the log flume, simply because the station of the log flume just looks so good. I didn't want to have this interrupted by a weird wall or so. I'm not entirely sure if I keep that open or not. In terms of, heat and whatnot, it wouldn't be too much of an issue. It's totally the opposite side from the pool, and you can still keep it warm, but energy efficiency wise, it would be a disaster. So I may actually create a bit of an outlet glass kind of containing wall or whatever. I'm not entirely sure of it. You can see now a great usage of the foliage brush. So I must admit that I didn't use it so much as I thought I was, but maybe because my parks so far are not focused too much on nature. If you, for example, take the Hamburg park, it's not so much about nature. There's a lot of concrete, there's a lot of stuff about that. I did a bit of testing if I can create fake brushes to create decals on the ground, but it just doesn't work as I wanted it to. So I tried a couple of things, but I must admit, in a natural area like this, it's absurdly quick to build these things. It's so satisfying to do, it's so rewarding, and it doesn't look any worse than what you could do with hand placement. The only important thing is that you do still place a couple of things by hand to just kind of maintain this more intention behind what you're building. But for the most part, the brush is actually helping you to make things look more natural and more coincidental rather than fully intentional. Obviously, it depends on what you're going for. If you're going for a more intentional area, then try to make sure that it all is a bit more intentional. If you go for a bit more of a nature kind of focus, make sure to do so. Also, that's another point where I wanted to ask you guys, what kind of shortcuts do you guys take? What's your favorite thing to cut short, you know? Maybe you're skipping interiors, which I like to do as well, but sometimes I love interiors. Or maybe you build a couple of blueprints to just hide certain areas. Maybe you don't do backstages. I don't know. Let me know in the comments what you like to shortcut, and also opposite, what absolutely is a no-go for shortcuts. What has to be on point for you guys always? What's the number one thing has to be on point? I'm very interested because that's just me getting to know a bit better what are your favorite kind of intentions behind A, getting inspiration, which I hope I can deliver with my videos, but also B, what your kind of behavior consuming content is like. But also take the chance to ask me whatever you want from me when it comes to tutorials or other topics I shall talk about. I also thought about making a realistic lake tutorial. By the way, just mentioning that this lake over here, or like little stream of water, is not the perfect example, okay? It's another little aesthetic thing to the side of it, which doesn't fulfill a bigger meaning. So yeah, I was promising earlier in this video that we are going to rip apart more. And here we go. Here we do rip apart basically the central area of this entire build. I always said from the beginning, this is meant to be a placeholder to see where this is going. And I must also talk about one thing that is, for me personally, very important to say right now. This whole project is a fully coincidental thing, you know? I built this kind of natural raft flume at the very beginning just because pure creativity spark I had. Like the moment I did this was just because I felt like I needed, and then you guys loved it so much that we turned that into a little series, which you know me by now, I don't even know exactly what little means, so it turned into a full-on series. However, I noticed after a couple of episodes that this never was intentional, it just may not be the series that I can, you know, can get going forever. And I have one series in mind that is soon to be revealed, but this is going to be I call it the Eastern Napali of Planet Coaster 2. There is a project I had in mind, which was always meant to be the follow-up of the Hanseatic Dreamland. It is a completely different approach than any of the parks I have done in Planet Coaster 2 so far. It's something very, very much along the line of pretty much classic theme parks in a way, but then again, it is different. I really am looking forward to it. It will take a time until I have the first episode ready, because the first episode has to be the best video I've ever made. Full stop. It's gonna be the best video I've ever made. I had this idea in mind for over a year now, and I've been changing the whole thing so many times, and gotta say that I'm talking about this right now because when I was building this project over here, I already had the other project in my mind the whole time. And I did learn a couple of things in this project, and to round this whole little bit up over here, one mistake I don't want to make again in this new series, the upcoming series, is going oversized. I love the looks of this project, don't get me wrong. I love the looks, I love the ideas behind this, I love how much fun it was to go into these things. But it is so oversized, it's so dramatically oversized that even the Rudilistic kind of thing in me, which for those of you who don't know, Rudilistic means realistic enough, but yet again allow for a little bit of creative freedom. Even that bit in me is feeling very annoyed because it is so freaking oversized in a way. I did look up what kind of realistic kind of halls like this look like, and in terms of size, and we are a good 25 to 30% up of that, from that one. You know, would it be 3 to 5%? I'd be, you know what, that's fine. But I still fall into the trap of the Planko themes and stuff being way too oversized in themselves. Thank God we've got scaling, so we could avoid that. But I didn't. So, to be completely honest with you guys, there's also that bit why I need to end this series, because there's no way realistically to continue with me being happy with it being way too oversized, you know? It looks fine, it looks decent, I'm happy with it, but we have to adjust it. Anyways, I guess you guys want to see how that looks in game. I want to see that again as well, and so I want to say, let's jump over into the real-time part. Look how it looks in game. This is basically the view from the very entrance, as you can see over here. It's not really styled though, but as we approach, you can see there is the coaster. We get some very cool sidelines over here. We do also see, you know, a bit of branding I've put in, nothing major or crazy. It's like Splash Peak, just saying over here. And then once we approach, you can see the path winds through here. Let's also see, maybe we catch the coaster coming. There's also like a little bit of, I want to call it debris, but like there are some blueprints in the back. They are going to be, you know, I'll get rid of them as soon as I share this whole stuff with you guys. I will also upload the whole stuff when it's done. Oh, look, there's the coaster coming. Look at that. It's coming down, you know, you can quickly, it's disappearing, and then it pops up again up there, having that roll. Very slow, as I said. This is maybe something I'm gonna change, and then roars over here. You can follow that like all the way here into the greenery. Make that turn around here. I need to just realign the trees a little, because the right hand side guys may actually have a couple leaves in their faces, which is not the most nice thing to have. This is of kind of harsh over here, the roll. I may have to redo the entire roll to make it a bit more nice, especially at the exit, but yeah. So this is that, and as I said, you know, it's very simple, just giving you the idea of approaching through the whole thing. And then this is nicely styled over here. We've got all these kind of little concrete fencing. I do like the fact that they're slightly raised. It looks almost like as if there's some LED lights below them, like these kind of almost like you know, there are a couple of these things in many modern areas where you have these almost hovering things, and you know, you achieve the effect by having the LED, and then there in the center there's like a tiny bit which holds the whole thing to the ground. So approaching the whole thing, getting in here, you can see this looks massively better than with the dome before. I mean, stuff like that, you know, let's just ignore that. But like the clean roof in the center looks very cool. You get the splashing from the right hand side, and as we go in, it, you know, it looks so much more nice and condensed and just how it's supposed to be. We do have a couple of pools right away. We've got that pool over here. We will change a couple of things. I'll get to that in a second. And if we go around here, you can see it's pretty filled. I will start to restrict a little bit the amount of people in here, because it's pretty overpowered. There's quite busy. I want to make sure it's not like more than 3,000 or so, just to make sure it's relatively realistic. And then we've got this kind of half beach vibe going on over here with the Yosemite hotel in the background. I think that looks pretty damn good from over here. Exactly the effect I wanted to achieve with it. You know, it's, as I said, it's not too crazy, but if you remember last episode, that took an age to build. And then over here you can see there is the log flume, which I'm still very proud of. We can approach that via this route. However, the left hand side is still very bare bone, because the station hasn't been done yet for the river rapids, which we'll do, and it's going to be very nice and in line with this queue line over here, you know. Let's quickly jump out of this camera so we can have a look at the free camera. Hold on, here you go, and disable that one. So you can see the outside looks, well, pretty nice. It's kind of like a little theme, but you also have this background over here, which is the river rapids, which is very nice looking indeed. I'm still a big fan of it. Look, it's looking very nice, very realistic, exactly how I wanted to have it. Our little FPS killing stone area over here. Oh my god, this still looks very bad in terms of FPS. It still has these little hiccups because it's just too much, but like with the new water, that all looks so fantastic. It looks so freaking decent. I am absolutely happy. Oh, look at that. We need to get rid of a bit of terrain over here. This is what I said. I may actually close that off with a bit of a glass triangle or so over here. I think a glass triangle could work very nice indeed. Yeah, that looks almost like as if it's meant to be this way. like a pretty much of a glass triangle. That'll look good. I'm gonna do it that way, and then we have to build the whole station. I'm gonna reposition everything about this one. Is gonna be repositioned. I'm gonna redirect the whole station. It's gonna be massively changed in order to be aligned better with the whole area. I'm gonna make this area look nicer with some nature, and that is about it, my friends. The only thing we need to do is our coaster, which is gonna be that one. Over here, the entrance will be connected to the main hall, and then this background is going to be turned into like a bit of a foresty area where people can get some recreational well pools or so, you know, making some hot tubs or so. That will be good, and then that shall be it for the whole project. It still looks massively nice from the interior. It looks very decent, gotta admit that, but as I said, it is absurdly oversized. I mean, just look at that. Look at the size where we are over here. This is just ridiculous. Again, in Dubai kind of areas that would potentially work, you know, but most of what realistically will be built will be just way more down. I mean, we can, you know, let's take a little bit of a fun little thing. Let's quickly go in and say, for a real quick moment, let's quickly type in 4 meters and just like take a normal wall. Where do we have one? Like there's a normal wall. Let's just quickly test how tall that really is. So we've got 2 of them, and I did intentionally offset them so it's easier for us to count. So let's do it that way and that way. So let's get rid of it. I think that's the fair bit over here. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So that means 10, we are already at 40 meters over here, 50 meters, 52 meters tall. That is absolutely massive. 52 meters is ridiculous. It's not like, you know, that it isn't possible at all, but let me just quickly, for reference, okay, hold on, I'm gonna type in something to just give you the idea. That is in Brandenburg, there's like a tropical island kind of thing, and just gonna see how tall that one is. Let's see. Oh my god, wait, hold on, what? Okay, I'll actually forget what I just said. The tropical island in Berlin is some 100 meters tall. So what the heck? I thought I was massively oversized, but oh boy was I wrong. So forget whatever I said in today's episode is completely wrong. We are totally fine with this haul. We're not even halfway there of the Berlin tropical island kind of thing. What the? I never thought that. That is ridiculous. Okay, well, it's not oversized then, so it's a perfectly realistic project you can all really like and love. Anyways, guys, yeah, that was a bit of a surprising thing, a surprising turn of events at the end. Nevertheless, I'm quite happy with the little changes. I'm absolutely more happy with this result, other than the dome. Gotta be honest with you, this one is massively better in my opinion. But yeah, so that shall be it. Thank you so much for watching as always, guys. I appreciate it a lot. And again, it would be nice if you tune into the comments to give me some answers to all the questions we had in today's episode, and if not, just leave me a nice reply and what you want to see else. And if you have a guess what my brand new theme is going to be on my brand new park, let me know in the comments too. Who knows? If there's maybe one person correct, I'll be featuring that in the first episode. Anyways, have a good time. Thank you so much. And as always, if you don't want to miss out on any new park, any new project, any new update on Jurassic World Evolution 3, as well as Anno, as City Skylines, blah, 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 make sure to sub to the channel if you haven't already. That way you make sure that you have it on your front page, no matter what the algorithm thinks you want to have on your front page. Anyways, thank you. Have a nice day, and